Welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I am Representative Gary Hopper, and I am making a mess today. I was down on Matt Connaughton's radio show, and a pen blew up on me. I got ink everywhere. And then earlier on my way over here, I stopped to get something to drink at Dunkin' Donuts. I wonder if they give me money if I keep doing this.
There you go.
I stopped at Dunkin' Donuts, and I went into the bathroom, blew my nose. I blew real hard, but my finger slipped, and I actually sliced my own nose with my fingernail.
Wow.
I'm bleeding all over the place. Okay, I don't think I get any on my tie.
You look fine.
Which is good. I hate that.
Paperwork, not so
Nope.
much.
I got something on there. I don't know what it is. Oh, another tie needs to be cleaned.
Well, between the blood and the ink, I thought you killed an octopus, but I guess
Right.
not.
Yeah.
That is usually the case, because I do kill a lot of octopi. Okay.
Okay.
TJ Moonan, are you part of a group or something? I didn't catch that.
Well, I do belong to a movement, se. Family rights movement, children's rights movement.
Okay.
As far as groups, we have our TV show, Love Works,
Yeah.
and we have a website, and that's basically my purpose, and getting the word out, educating the general public
As to what's going on in the courts and stuff.
Yeah, just
Who's
the
your
laws in
accomplice?
general.
Because I don't even think we've met yet.
Yeah, I met you a couple weeks ago. My
I
name's
know
Tom
about-
McCarthy, and I am
Hey, young man.
I am part of dozens of groups as far as children's
NRA?
rights. Nope, nothing to do with the NRA. It's all about children's rights and anything. Well, people who get divorced aren't allowed to carry guns anymore. So
Right, right.
Is that actually true?
I wouldn't be
in
saying
some
it.
ratings, There's always the
Yeah.
the inevitable. I know a buddy of mine is not the most gentle guy I've ever met, and his wife, her lawyer, I guess, told her you got to get a restraining order, because if you get a restraining order, this process will take place in the courts.
Mhm.
So she did, even though he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So he had to give up his guns, even though there was never any evidence he did anything.
Yeah.
You hit the nail right on the head, because that's what happens. You hire a lawyer, they use the Violence Against Women's Act, they get a restraining order, they file for divorce. You're guilty before you've even
Right.
stepped foot in a courtroom.
That's right.
You're removed from your home, where your children are just absolutely having nervous breakdowns
Yeah.
because dad and or mom, it's gender neutral. I mean, high percentage of fathers for the last couple of decades at least have been alienated from their children, removed from their homes, and they have to there's just so many things that can happen, but it's called the silver bullet theory is what it's used for. Lawyers come in, get a restraining order, file for divorce, and your life is over.
Yeah.
Right.
In so many cases, men have become instantly homeless, where their children are just absolutely in my particular case, our little daughter was on suicide watch for 4 years as I was fighting just to be in her life. I have papers and documents that say the court says I can have this time, and all that time has always been denied for one reason or another, and just keep coming back, filing motions, wait 8-9 months before you're heard for 15 minutes again, see what happens, wait another month or two for the decision to come out. By that time, a year has passed, and you've had absolutely no contact.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't mean to be taking up too much time, but one thing I did want to say is there's a program called Divorce Corp. It's a documentary about the American divorce way of life,
Okay.
and that will shine the light on exactly what this business is.
Yeah.
And it's not a justice courtroom, it's business.
Can you do me a favor and add that link, because I posted on Facebook that you guys are going to be on tonight.
Yeah.
Just add that link below it so people can, after they watch the program,
Yeah,
they can go on with
Certainly.
I shared your link. I'll attach it after
Okay.
the show. For sure.
Yeah, so that was part of the frustration today was House Bill 236.
Failed, right?
It failed.
Yep.
It was a bill that would have the presumption going to court is that each parent gets at least 35% of the kid's time.
Right, no less than 35%.
No less than 35%, unless there's mitigating factors, violence, whatever.
Right.
Right.
And it failed because, I don't know, it's one of the problems is we have too many lawyers up in the State House. One of those got up and spoke.
Exactly.
And there's too much money to be, there's a lot of money to be made in divorce.
It's the business.
Oh, yeah.
It is a business.
And like I said, divorce court, business.
I know people that have decided, look, we're going to get a divorce. We're not getting along. This isn't good for you. It isn't good for me. Let's work this out. We'll go to we'll get a lawyer and just work it out.
Right.
First mistake, getting a lawyer.
Right. As soon as they do that, one lawyer will say, well, if you don't do this, A, B, C, and D, you're going to lose this. And then the other lawyer says this. I know that they're not supposed to, but I will almost guarantee you a high percentage of lawyers deliberately inflict conflict into the situation because there's no money in a reasonable, well-maintained divorce.
Right. That's what family law is about. It's not about the best interest of the family or the children. It's about getting the money.
Money.
I walked into the court and, for my case, my daughter's 7 years old, and my thinking is when the judge hears me, it's not going to be an issue.
Right.
I walked out of there with my tail between my legs wondering what the heck just happened. What ends up happening a lot is non-custodial parents get destroyed through family courts. They're forced to pay child support, which limits their ability to get representation.
Yeah.
You're not offered representation in family court, which, I believe the 14th Amendment calls for that. But after that, if you don't pay your child support, you literally get convicted and sentenced to a crime for not paying child support. Once again, no representation, no jury trial. Where's the due process?
Well, also the United States, I believe, Constitution says you cannot be denied due process if
14th Amendment, right?
If they take away your property. Okay, so they can't just come and take your car because they don't like you.
Right.
They have to go through due process to take that vehicle from you. But they're taking away your child, and you don't have any recourse.
Before anything, you've ever stepped foot in a courtroom, before you even face a judge, you're out of your home, you're away from your children, and then you can go and wait your turn. And it's a cookie-cutter business, and it's nothing to do with justice. Our 14th Amendment allows exactly what you're saying. Due process. If I'm guilty of harming somebody, especially someone in your own family, by all means, prosecute them. Go ahead. But where you see anything is considered, in my case, why I'm considered the biggest risk taker over my ex-wife, and this is written down, because I let our child climb a ladder when she was a toddler, which makes me a higher risk for hurting my daughter than the other one. So now automatically there's a custodial parent, a non-custodial parent,
right in back of the kid when.
And so that's why they can come up with anything. It's up to the discretion of the judge.
Right.
If she doesn't like the way you look or he doesn't like the way you sound, it's a cookie cutter. I never harm my family whatsoever. And you walk into court, every person you meet along the way, because you have a domestic violence hearing pending, treats you accordingly.
Right.
Very accordingly. And what happens is they make a non-custodial parent. That's the state's biggest mission. And they'll say they're doing it for the best interest of the child. Now there's a child support order that's issued. And that's where we get to the heart of the matter here. At all. That's what they want. So once the child support order is made, every dollar the custodial parent sends in, the federal government sends the state another one.
Just a second. You got a call on line one. Somebody want to go get their phone and shut it off?
Can you get that down?
Hey, Jasmine? Hello? Did I press the wrong button?
Hit the green button, but hit it only once.
Okay. Hello, Jasmine? Hello? I don't got anybody. Okay. I got it.
Okay, well,
Okay, she's calling back. Hit the green button.
All right. I think I'm hitting the green button. Hello, Jasmine?
Okay, don't hit it again.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm just calling to say hi to you guys and wish you guys a good show. And I don't want to keep you, but, break a leg, so.
Well, I don't really want to break a leg.
he's en route to it today.
I know.
No, this is show business talk.
I know. I'm being goofy. So do you have any experience with this kind of court cases and stuff, or?
Yes, I do, actually. I was an alienated mother since 1998.
Wow.
Yeah, and I came up with my story in 2007, and in 2010 I went to the Occupy Anonymous group,
Yeah.
where I met the founder of Occupy Wall Street, and I shared my story with everyone, and I was mocked, laughed at, and ridiculed, and so I went on a mission to find other parents like me.
Oh, okay.
So I have a lot of experience with it, but I'm on my second profile because my first one was taken down due to my activity with Occupy Anonymous.
Wow. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, there's freedom of speech, but only so far.
Right. Right.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it wasn't, I didn't hack into people's accounts or anything like that, but it's just, the fact that I was doing radio shows. I have my own show.
Yeah.
I went global in 36 countries with 1.5 million viewers, and Anonymous helped me to spread my message
Oh,
of PTSD and parental alienation.
right.
So that's what I mean by that kind of activity. And at the end of it, I received a message from Facebook asking me for my driver's license, basically, which violated my privacy rights.
Yeah.
And so I just said, take it. I don't care. I'm not going to allow you to violate my rights, my constitutional rights. I'm not sending you my driver's license.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Who in their right mind is going to do that? Who's going to send you a copy of their driver's license? I'm
Yeah,
not
why
doing
don't you send them their social security number and your credit card information
Yeah, right,
too?
right. Firstborn.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, firstborn male child.
Right. Well,
Where-
Exactly.
Jasmine, where was that you had the court problem with the courts? What?
It was Flint, Michigan, where the water crisis is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a major, Michigan is a major mecca of corruption, obviously.
Obviously, yeah.
Oddly enough, Michigan just passed a 50-50 shared parenting law.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So-
and Illinois has recently as well.
How old's your kid now, Jasmine?
Okay, so I'm no longer alienated. Now I'm estranged because my children are 22 and 23. I have 3 kids. I have twins that are 22 years old.
And do they have? Do you get to see them?
They won't talk to me. I'm not sure if they're going through a phase or it's because of all the brainwashing that they've
Well, yeah,
gone through.
yeah.
definitely the
That's-
brainwashing.
that's what happens.
That's what happens.
When
I know.
the non-custodial parent is taken away from the child for investigation because of allegations or whatever, that child then doesn't have contact with the parent for however long it takes.
Right.
My regular visit stopped in 1998, and it took me 5 years to fight to get one more visit. And by the
Wow.
time I got that visit, she had been so brainwashed
Oh, of course,
that
of course.
she didn't want to see
Hey,
me.
Jasmine, I'm going to let you go. Thank you for calling.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Actually,
Yes.
if you want, talk to these guys. We'll have you on the show sometime. That'd be awesome.
Oh, sure. That would be great. And say hi to TJ Moonan for me.
Okay.
Hi,
Thank
Jazz.
you, Jazz. Bye.
That's what happens. Facebook is asking for a license. What do you think the family courts are doing for your constitutional rights?
no.
They're
Well-
non-existent. They
See,
don't exist anymore in a lot of areas.
So, what people might not understand is the best laid plans of mice and men, I think is the term.
Yeah.
So years ago, first of all, family court wasn't a big deal in the 70s. It became a big deal because of no-fault divorce.
Right.
The focus prior to 1970, whenever that was, early 70s, was parents pretty much stayed together because the kids were more important than their personal gratification.
Right.
Okay? In the 1970s, no-fault divorce, actually it was President Reagan, when he was governor, said it was probably one of the worst decisions he's ever made is as governor signing no-fault divorce in California. Because that's where it started.
Yeah.
And the focus now became, instead of on, we're going to do what's best for the kids, period, and if we're not happy, well, we can deal with that later.
Right.
It went from that mentality to, if I'm not happy, the kids can't be happy. So it became all about self.
Right.
And when it became about self, that's when the no-fault divorce came, and divorce rates skyrocketed. Single-parent homes skyrocketed. Suicide skyrocketed. Everything started climbing right after that.
Yeah.
Teen suicide. All that stuff is a result of the complete devolution of the family.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
the courts were stuck trying to, and you have to give them some sort of sympathy too, because now all of a sudden there's these floods of divorce cases and
Right.
no-fault divorce. And the court has certain rules of evidence, like you can't do this, A, B, C, and D. You have to, if you're going to submit evidence, you have to submit it at a certain time. You have to tell the defendant, the person you're going against, about there's all kinds of rules of evidence, all kinds of different rules in a courtroom setting, right?
Right. Rules within the rules.
Within the rules. So what the New Hampshire legislature did in their finite wisdom was say, all right, we'll get rid of the rules for the family court, because that way when people come, they can just talk to the judge. And if they're, they can't be like ruled out of order because they didn't submit the right paperwork at the right time, which that all makes sense. Except you have some judges that don't care, and they
There's the
use the
rub.
fact that there are no rules as a tool to torture people, basically.
Exactly. When you when you showed me HB 1301, and I was looking at it, I mean, it's a great idea, but every bill I've read so far still gives control to the courts. It doesn't say the letter of the law should be followed. It's at the judge's discretion, at the court's discretion.
Hey, I just thought of an idea. I
Yeah.
got to say it before I forget, because I'll forget really
Yeah, go
quickly.
ahead.
And you can remind me of this next year. What about a bill that requires, if somebody is going for a no-fault divorce, that they have to use one attorney who has the best interest of the child?
It really, I don't think.
No,
Sounds
think
great.
Think about it. Because if you have two different lawyers, that means there's fault. If there's no fault, then you're trying to work out with your spouse an equitable situation,
Right.
so that the child has the best possible outcome.
Right.
And if there's only one lawyer, there's no conflict.
Well, there's where
Just-
here's my
I
thing.
think about it.
Here's my
disagree,
thing. I'm
go ahead.
disagreeing, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
This is how it should work. In Sweden,
Yeah.
if you get divorced, you send in a 2-page paperwork, you fill it out, you send it. There's no laws, there's no court hearings. You're granted your divorce. Nobody fights over property, kids, everything. In a free society as Americans, and the Constitution in place,
Yeah.
these courts are a court of equity. First thing they want is your financial affidavit. That's
Right.
the first thing they want. They don't care about domestic violence. They don't care about the children. They want to see who they're dealing with.
Who's got the money?
Who's got the money? And that's why women are getting beaten up now, because they're the breadwinners. So
lot
when
of
the
it, yeah.
child support order is put in place, like we said, this is their golden goose, so to speak. This is where they get their gold, from the Title 4D money that comes out of everybody's
Explain what that is.
Title 4D is out of the Social Security money. All the money that we pay into Social Security to take care of us when we're elderly and we worked all the time. That money was opened up by Hillary Clinton in 1997, because this is, at the time, There were so many people out there that were having kids on welfare, didn't know who the dads were, didn't. So if they were able to collect off the fathers, because let's face it, fathers should pay for their own kids. Society shouldn't. You can't just go, having children and not taking care of them. Good idea, good thought. But the Title 4D money is when there's a child support order made, if I send in $100 a week, the federal government sends the state $100 for themselves.
Right.
You know how many billions and billions and billions of dollars are paid into that? And the states are making money hand over fist. And it's going right back into the judges. It pays for the judges' retirements, their pension funds, everything. And here's where the problem is.
Isn't that a conflict of interest?
This is what I'm saying. When you walk into a judge and a woman, under the Violence Against Women Act, says they're afraid of their spouse. That's it. If I was in the judge's shoes, I would give her the restraining order too. That way there, nothing's going to happen to her, and I'm not going to make the 6 o'clock news by letting some gentleman who says the judge finds himself in a unique position of saying, I didn't do anything, Your Honor. I love my family. I would never harm them, and it doesn't matter. You're out.
Right.
Out. And you're given these restraining orders. Let's say this winter you got a restraining order last week and you couldn't go home and you had no place else to go. We'd have a frozen father on the street and no one would bat an eye. Just like Sergeant Thomas Ball, Vietnam vet, 2 tours of duty in Vietnam, handled that, came back, got in family law for 10 years. It got to the point where he lit himself on fire in front of the Keene courthouse and killed himself.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right, back in 2010, I believe it was. And because what happened is he had a job for 30 years after he came back, proud waving, flag waving American, got caught up in the family courts over nonsense. Absolute. All you need is hearsay and an accusation,
Right.
and you're in it, and you're never getting out of that web.
There's no, like I said, there's no rules of evidence.
So they were going to put him in jail.
Accusation is good enough.
They were putting him in jail for non-payment of child support. And we're not talking a ludicrous amount of money either. So instead of going to jail for a year, he decided to end his life in front of the key. And in our own town, the news, the headline news was 3 kittens got left outside, and we heard about it all week, how the kittens were doing. And we got a 10-second blob of a man self-immolated himself in front of the Keene Courthouse. Now to the weather, John, because this country is not...
I wanted to tell you this because, like you guys know, you were doing your protest out in front of the State House, and I came over and talked to you to find out what was going on, right?
Yeah.
The only rep that did, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You should... People should understand that the news you get on the news is not news.
No.
It is, for instance, if that same number of people were out there protesting for women's rights, for something for women, it doesn't even really matter anymore what it is.
Yeah, the Me Too thing or whatever.
Yeah,
right.
Me Too. The press would have been there. They would have covered it. They would have taken pictures that gave the illusion that there was 100 people there.
Yeah.
What they do is they get everybody together and try to look up so you can't see that there's only so many people deep in this photograph, but it looks like they do this crap all the time. They will cover that if it's part of their agenda.
Right.
Now, when it's not part of their agenda, they don't care. They're not going to cover that.
Just like the President Trump's inauguration. They made a specific point constantly to tell you how many people weren't there.
Right.
Because that was the agenda.
Right.
It's bought and paid for. The mainstream media is bought and paid for, I believe.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
To expand a little bit on what Mac was saying about Title IV, there's Title 4D and there's Title 4E. Title 4D, I've read the text, and the way it's worded is they give special incentives to the courts from our trust fund, the Social Security Act, for pursuing child support. Title 4E does the same thing. They give incentives to DCYF, CPS, the whole alphabet.
The more kids you bring in, the more money you make as a social worker.
Right. So that's why you're seeing DCYF getting under investigation, because each counselor's got 58 cases and they can't get to them all. And children are destroyed. These children are in foster homes that are also being funded through Title 4E.
Right,
You
right.
know, this is all just, it's just a money-making scheme, $100 billion a year business. And you know what's amazing, Gary, and I like to point this out, every state in the country has a child support enforcement agency. There are no visitation enforcement agencies. There is no
money in it.
There's no accountability for the custodial parent not allowing their children to see their other parent.
Oh yeah, I hear about that all the time.
It's a rampant. And another thing, you know, Mac brought up Sweden. This is a global issue. A lot of our Constitution came from the King's Law in England, and I've got a bunch of friends over in England who are all going through the same thing and fighting the same thing. They have CASCAP over there, which is their form of CPS. And it's a global issue, which is, and I saw your post on Facebook about our show tonight about how you wanted to hear about Global Citizens Arrest Day.
Oh yeah. What was that all about?
Well,
Say what that is, because
Yeah.
I didn't.
It's an amazing,
What is it
amazing
again?
event. It's called the Global Citizens Arrest Day. What we did was there are millions of people, literally, around the globe participating in this. Nobody's spending money. Nobody's buying gas, food, cigarettes, coffee, nothing. Nobody's buying anything today.
Okay.
To make a statement to the government that, you know, we do have some control. To
Right,
the
right.
governments around the world. And speaking of mainstream media, Fox, I think it was Fox News. No, it was ABC News in Georgia covered this.
Yeah.
And I posted the segment on the show from their station all over social media.
Yeah.
Everybody has. I was on Twitter all night. I was literally up all night until I talked to you this morning.
You said you were up all night.
I was on Twitter tweeting it out. There was a
Right,
big
right.
Twitter storm. It's amazing what's going on. There are so many people all around the world, and it's all because we all just want the same thing. We all just want to have participation in our children's lives. You know, Mac's probably one of the most zealous fighters I've ever worked with, and his love for his child is far beyond anything any court can do.
Yeah.
My daughter's 26. She'll be 27 next month. She lives here in Manchester, by the way. Maybe she's watching. If you are, I love you, Amanda. But she's 26 years old. I haven't seen her since she was 7. You know.
Yeah, well, I think that's what people might not understand too, is the parent with custody has certain resentments,
Oh yeah.
and they often use the kids as
pawns.
What
Right.
they don't understand, and I wish all the parents understood this, that by destroying your character,
Mm-hmm.
they're destroying their own child.
That's
Absolutely
If
correct.
you take a little kid, let's say a little boy, okay? Because that's part of the problem with divorce. You take a little boy who's 4. Dad gets divorced. Mom fights dad tooth and nail in court all the time. Over time, the child has no contact with dad,
Yeah.
okay? All the time that kid's growing up, dad's a loser. Dad's a jerk. Dad's a scum, right?
Mm-hmm.
So guess what that kid wants to be when they grow up? Little boy.
Yeah.
Wants to be like dad. Guess what he wants to be when he grows up?
Mm-hmm.
A dirtbag, a
Yeah.
scumbag. You know why? Because that's what that's his idea of what dad is.
Right.
And whether I don't care how much of a feminist you think you are, that little boy wants to be dad when he grows up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a boy does.
Right.
And if you've told him that image of dad is like the most horrible human being short of Adolf Hitler, that's what he's going to be when he grows up.
Yeah.
You are devastating your children by using them as an attack pawn in your scheme.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Exactly.
correct. Everything you say, and that's what happens. And why? The family courts allow this because lawyers run the family courts.
Yep.
This is their business. They became a lawyer. When I was a kid, a doctor or a lawyer, if you became one of those, you were, in my mind, you're really smart, really rich, very well respected because you're a lawyer.
Right.
You're a doctor. You're somebody important around here that we all pledge allegiance to the flag every day, all day, no matter where we go,
Yeah.
from the time we come out of the womb to here. And then you get before a judge in family court, everything you were ever taught is out the window.
Yeah.
You're guilty until proven innocent. Let's see how much money you get. We could care less about your child.
Right.
We're going to say we do. We're going to say that's what we're doing, but you're not. You just created a business and you became a lawyer, and maybe you thought you were going to be the next Perry Mason and you were going to solve and fight injustice throughout America. Well, you found out there's 20 people on the block who are lawyers now.
Right.
And now where's your mainstream of money flow coming? When
Right.
you don't have to defend anybody, where you can't, well, family law took care of that. Become a family lawyer. Look at how much they pull in. And if you, let's say you did well for yourself, you made a few $1 million throughout.
How many
I can
kids-
guarantee that's gone. By the time your divorce is over, you will be penniless. Not only that, but you'll be ending up owing the state. And if you ever get into the rearages of child support, good luck to you. I'm not going away. I fought tooth and nail. I've come up and shown I've kept every record. I don't need the state to tell me that our children need money for food, clothes, and everything because me and my significant other decided to separate or get divorced or go our separate ways. It happens. But don't take a child away from someone that they love and respect more than a doctor, more than a lawyer, more than a judge. You know, it's, if they really cared about the kids, family court would be shut down tomorrow and every parent would be able to have, it's none of the state's business what my life is. It's not, unless I've committed some sort of an assault, or battery, or threatening, or something criminal, and then you put me in family court and charge me with all these things and don't have a jury trial, which is the Constitution. I have the right to face my accuser before we're stepped in there. No, you don't. You're already convicted. You're thrown out with that piece of paper. And what will happen if I go back to my house with this restraining order? And let's say it's 13 below zero out, and you got no place to go, and you want to go home. Well, you'd be met with force of a SWAT team that would all go, we got another batterer, Joe. Let's call it a night.
Right.
And then the newspaper, yep, he had this.
Disgruntled
It's
father
just a
shot,
business.
yeah.
Family Corp, it's a corporation. And
Yeah.
the kids are suffering immensely. And you said it best, Gary, that single-parent homes, from that time you mentioned, on the rise, drug abuse, alcoholism, crime, early pregnancy. And when a parent dismantles another parent, they're dismantling their own child because
Yeah.
that child is half of that person that we decided to have a child with.
Right.
We both decided to be married. We both decided to raise a family. And now, for whatever reason, you don't want to be that, that's fine. But let the children have their parents in their life, regardless. Judge Judy, I don't care if he's Jack the Ripper. Let the child see the father. Let the child see the
Right.
mother. Don't keep him away because it's doing more harm. Now, what kind of society is that? You want our children to be the best educated, the best protected, the best doctors, the best lawyers, the best of the world has to offer.
There is no quantity of money that we can spend on schools to compensate for broken homes.
There you
Absolutely
go.
right.
There is not enough money out there to pay a do you know the little kid in a divorce situation, especially the one you're talking about, where one or the other parent has decided to dismantle the reputation of the other, okay,
Yeah.
and that child grows up in that environment. A lot of children end up with post-traumatic stress.
Right.
It is similar to one of our young men or women that we send over to Iraq or Afghanistan where they see their friends getting killed beside them.
Yeah.
The child has the same reaction to that divorce as that poor kid did watching his best friend get blown up next to him.
Right. That's
All right?
right. Absolutely.
It's the same reaction, and that's why you see all these kids dying on the streets from heroin addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction kills more people
It's
than
all,
heroin.
it's all tied together, Gary. More and more children are being medicated, at preschool age, and they're brought up learning that medication is part of daily life. It's normal, and the only people benefiting
There's not a
from
lot
that.
of difference between some of those medications and crystal
That's
methadone.
the thing,
Why
you
don't you
know?
just freaking let them cook crystal and freaking give it to the kid?
Right, exactly. And they're breeding a whole generation of robots, zombies.
yeah, yeah.
It's sad. And then once you get to adulthood, you're taken complete advantage of by the family court system. There should not be a family court or any family law system. Anything that we have to deal with can be dealt in civil or criminal court. Family law is just a money-making option.
Has no constitutionality in it
No.
whatsoever. None of your constitutional rights. Now, I read this book several times, and I'm still scratching my head why it doesn't exist, to the people who were in charge of making sure that our children's inalienable rights, inalienable, they're not given to the court from the neighbor down the street. They're given to us by God. We procreated. These are our children. Nobody loves or protects our children more than us.
right.
But when they come through this system, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Right.
Yeah.
Money, money, money. Lawyers, we'll get to the bottom of this. Now let's get a bite to eat. And as years and years go by, this country, when people go out and shoot and kill and do drugs and rob places and everything, it's from their mental state of mind.
You want to know some interesting statistic?
Mhm.
This is Washington, D.C., 2000. I haven't seen statistics since. Right?
Mhm.
The war on poverty started in late 60s.
Yeah.
Patrick Moynihan was asked by then President Johnson to find out what was happening, quote unquote, in the Negro family. And he created something called the Moynihan Report.
Mm-hmm.
And he determined that in the black families in the inner city, the biggest problem was fatherlessness, broken families, right? Guess what? There's only 25% of those kids in broken homes in mid-1960s.
Yeah.
25%.
Huh.
So then they started the war on poverty, which financially rewarded young girls for making sure dad never came home.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had no-fault divorce. By the year 2000, 75% of the children being brought up in Washington, D.C. were in broken or single-parent homes.
Yeah.
75%.
In a
When you
matter of
see
a
the
generation.
violence in Chicago, it has nothing to do with skin color.
Right.
It has absolutely nothing to do with racism. It has everything to do with family.
Rage, anger.
Oh, yeah.
That-
Well, you're the same little boy has been taught that dad's a dirtbag, dad's a street urchin, or is in the jail.
Mhm.
What does he want to be when he grows up?
Exactly.
He's enraged. By the
Yep.
time he's a teenager, he's so freaking angry at society. And then he listens to all these morons who say it's all racism, which is absolute BS.
Yeah.
So now he's got justification for his rage.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? You just created a freaking time bomb. What could possibly go wrong?
Right.
Exactly right, Gary.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And it doesn't matter the skin color or anything.
Nope.
This is a money-making business.
Right.
This is all just business. Got nothing to do with your rights.
Right.
And I
So-
feel bad for anybody who is now just jumping into this, who is forced into this. You're
Right.
forced into a contract. You're forced into a contract with the state because you got married, and now you live in the state. So now the state's going to take over and tell you where you can live, when you can live, how much you can live, where you're going to go, how you're going to
How
see
much
your
change
children,
you
how
got
much
left
you
at the end of your paycheck
exactly.
to live?
Yeah.
One of the biggest things you mentioned, the PDS, when Americans,
PTSD,
right,
PTSD,
when they come over, you've seen on the news where a soldier, and it's both men and women, but most of the time dad comes home and surprises the kid at school or something, and it's a big heartwarming, touching story
Yeah.
on the local news and everything like that. Okay, well, the child knows that dad's away fighting, and now he's back and surprised, jumps into his arms and can't believe it, loves him, because they miss him and love him. So you see the reaction of the children, just
Right.
absolutely beautiful,
Right.
heartwarming things. In my case, I hadn't seen my daughter for 8 months. We had the strongest bond a daddy and daughter could have, beyond words,
I
my
know.
special angel. She hadn't seen me for 8 months. She ran into my lap and sat down for 50 minutes and wouldn't let go. Your visit's over now. She doesn't want to go. She wants to stay with me. That's wrenching.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, with that being on the news from a soldier, what happened in my case to my little girl is I was now accused of sexually molestation of my child.
What evidence?
Because they saw her run into my arms and wouldn't let go. So now I was charged with sexual molestation
The only
of my
evidence is that
child.
she was hugging you.
The visitation center noticed that the child didn't want to leave and jumped into my arms, just like you see on the news from the guy coming home from war. No,
That was
Dad's
the
coming
only
home.
evidence they had in court.
That was. Yes.
It's true.
They had no evidence. That's what they said, because the child sat on the father's lap for the entire visit. She wouldn't let me go. I didn't want to let her go. We were forced to go into
How
a
is that
visitation
even
center.
remotely evidence of anything other than affection?
It's the way the game is played, and it's a game, and this is how you got to go.
Who charged you?
The Greater Nashua Visitation Center, Miss Ann Louise Petrillo,
To be specific.
You-
got in court and said she didn't have anything to do with it, and then they caught her in a lie because they had a tape, and it
Okay.
never got mentioned by the judge that she lied.
Because it was sealed.
Right.
No, it wasn't sealed. It was matter of public record.
Okay.
I got 27 people to this day that still want to hurt me because they think it happened. And that's the only evidence.
I want to tell you something. There's a part in the Bible where the kids are coming to Christ, right?
Mhm, yeah.
And he talked about hurting little kids. Now, this goes for the judges. This goes for that woman. This goes for the lawyers who are making money on this. It is better for them that a millstone be tied around their neck and thrown into the ocean than face Jesus Christ
right.
on Judgment Day.
That's right. Amen. You know, and the same thing happened to me. You know, I was visiting my daughter at a visitation center, paying $60 an hour to see her. And every time she came in for the visit, I immediately gave her a big hug and told her I loved her. And the supervisor said to me, don't initiate physical contact. Let her hug you. I said, are you out of your mind? In a little bit more colorful words, I said, you know, I'm paying you $60 an hour. Well, I'm going to hug my daughter when I see her. So they put into the record inappropriate physical contact, which then my ex's lawyer took and ran with.
Now you're a sexual molestation, the view of everybody you're dealing with.
Exactly.
And these are when you go to a visitation center, they're all run by women. No
What
problem.
a
That's
coincidence.
okay.
Yeah.
But they're looking at you like you're Jack the Ripper.
Just like the
because
court
you
did.
have an accusation of domestic violence. When my domestic violence petition came up, they asked the petitioner, my ex-wife, please describe the violence, emotional, physical, that you've suffered throughout the course of your marriage and your dating and everything, which she claimed she did. She didn't say anything. Her lawyer asked her again the same question. Please describe to the court the emotional and physical abuse you've suffered at the hands of your husband. Her answer was, I'm trying to remember. Guilty. I'm guilty.
Yeah.
Because she's trying to remember physical or emotional violence. I love this woman. She just, in my case, she had someone else who had some more money and she had the farm she loved, so she needed to get rid of me. A lawyer steps in. Ever watch the movie Liar, Liar with
No.
Jim Carrey? Please do. It's a comedy, but it's 100% accurate
Yeah.
on how the family court system is run by lawyers, and judges go along with it. Just like police today, you see everybody's got a video camera. Well, the police report is a total opposite of what's on that videotape. And when the police come into court, the judge still goes with the police, even though there's the evidence right there before them. They're still siding on the side. They side on the lawyer's side. This is what's best for our profession, is to destroy little kids, and all you need is a simple accusation.
Okay.
And it's all run by women. And in my case, I don't think any of them were ever in a relationship with anybody. I never seen a ring on them. And they treat you like you're second-class citizens. This is what you have to do at a visitation center to see your child.
Oh, it's
Come
insane.
into a booth, have it opened up, and have a policeman search you thoroughly. to make sure you have no weapons. This is just on an accusation. This is what I had to go through because we're trying to remember. And you get first down, then you got to sit. You have to pay the people there. Then 2 women tell you to get up, sit down, don't initiate any contact, no hugging, no kissing, don't talk about this, don't talk about that. And as you sit with your child that you haven't seen, you have 2 women sitting there writing down everything you say, and they can interpret it any way they want and spin it. And now they're in cahoots with the lawyers, the psychiatrists, the psychiatrists, the social workers, the therapists, all this, the hoops you have to jump through just for a mere accusation. Listen, if someone comes out and hurts their kid like that, by all means, tie a stone to them and throw them in the lake, if that's what they actually did. But one of the cases, the Amaral case in Malden years ago, it was a big case that the daycare workers were molesting the mother, the grandmother, and the son were all molesting these kids.
Yeah.
And it turned out it was the doctor knew how to manipulate the kids to say this is what happened. She coached the children. Nothing happened to those children. Now that they're older, and they said, no, that never happened. We just did what the lady told us to do.
Wow, I didn't know that.
The mother died in prison.
Yeah,
Tuki Amaral, they get him out, and the daughter actually died in prison too, because they were harmed by the prison population because they were molesters. Turns out they didn't. So this is what you're up against. And it's just unfortunate because TJ loves his daughter. I love my daughter. Everybody out there loves their daughters, their sons, their mothers, their sisters, their wives. But once somebody doesn't like you anymore, boom.
Yeah, right, nothing else.
Here we go. This is the path you're going down. If you told me 8.5 years ago that this could happen to a father and a daughter, or a mother or a son, I would tell you you're out of your mind. But until you walk the shoes, and we're just a small percentage of it, Gary, too.
So, you know, I don't think the feminazis actually understand the ramifications of what they're doing.
Oh, no.
That's what a lot of this is. No.
It's entirely a narcissistic.
I'm saying it's a lot worse than they think. Because over time, you already have the Me Too crap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that a lot of guys saying, you know, thinking back in their past 40 years ago,
right?
Did I touch some girl inappropriately at a party when we were all drunk?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So you got that. So now guys, if they're reasonable, are going to not talk to women. Or if they do, it's going to be it's not going to be like when we were kids where you're trying to hit on them because you're trying to date. So you got that going on.
Yeah.
Then if you get through that first hurdle and find some woman that you haven't sexually harassed and you probably haven't even hit on because that's probably sexual harassment.
Right.
So you wait for them to make advances to you because that's totally okay. They can grab your ass.
Yeah, right.
I can tell you, Gary, if Clarence Thomas looked like Denzel Washington, nobody know who Anita Hill is.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because it goes on, if you're attracted to the person, it's not sexual harassment.
No.
If you don't want the person, now it is sexual harassment.
So you've got this situation where most men, if they're reasonable or want to have a career, right? Because it can be any career now. Mm-hmm. You know, if you went to MIT for mechanical engineering or electrical engineering and you're going off to work for NASA, you're going to say, whoa, I'm not going to take a chance on ruining this by, talking to this girl, right? Because she might attack me in 20 years. Just when I get to become president of NASA, this cotton-picking person's going to come out. So I'm just going to keep my distance. Right? So you've got that variable. And now you've got a situation where in most cases, if you do finally get together with this girl, the courts are going to, and they decide not to play house anymore, the courts are going to rake you over the coals. So these feminazis are destroying men because that's all they care about. People think that they're actually about women's rights. No. They just really, really hate men. Okay? By hating men, they are tearing down the very fabric of society. They are destroying society by attacking men and destroying the children along the way.
Well, that's what the family court system is doing. And we're focused now on the solution, trying to find the answer, trying to get it fixed. And that's why on our show, Love Works, for families, we try to present, if you go to our website, love-works.net, there's all kinds of resources to show you, to explain what Title IV-D is, Title IV-E, the Bradley Amendment, all these different bills, acts, and laws creating the financial incentives that need to be stopped in order for the American family to be whole again. The American family is the foundation of our society, and it's being destroyed from the beginning. And
I can tell you that we had a really good roll call, I'm quite positive it was a roll call vote, on House Bill 236.
yeah,
It died.
Yeah,
Killed.
but it's a very good bill. You know why? Because if that was roll called, which I believe it was, you have a list of
Right.
people that only care about the courts and not the families.
exactly.
That roll call list should be used to your benefit to try to get people in here. Because Kim Rice is awesome.
Yeah.
Dan Itz is great. There's a
Okay.
lot
Jeff
of people up
Oligny.
there. There's a lot of great people up there that are trying to make a change, but we do not have the votes.
Yeah.
If you get us the votes, we can do all kinds of great things.
Yeah, I've been talking with Kim and Kevin Avard. And
Kevin Avard's great.
Matt got me in touch with all of these people. It's
Yeah.
it's amazing how the network
Kim Rice
works.
was out with us protesting 5 years ago
Yeah.
in the freezing cold, doing the same thing we were protesting when you met us
Yeah.
last time. Now she ran for state rep just on the fact she wanted to help change these things. Now she's the head of the Children and Family Law Committee.
Yeah.
We couldn't have had a better person in here.
Well, the
She's
fact
down
that-
to earth, and she's not a politician.
No.
She's for children and families, period.
Right. That's why that House Bill 236 got through the committee with an 8-6 vote, which helps.
Right.
Getting
But
there.
it's not enough to get it through the House.
Right.
And until you get enough people to understand what's going on, so that we can get enough people in the House, or I don't know, some other type of lawsuit or something,
Yeah.
suing
I
for.
would like to shut the whole system down.
I get that.
Have a mediator, non-lawyer.
I get
you
that.
go in,
Yeah.
you sign a thing,
Right.
we're divorced.
Exactly.
You get half the house, you get half the house. You get the kid this week, you get the kid next week. Period. Done, stamped, and you wouldn't, but you'd shut everybody, you'd shut the lawyers down, the judges down, the
So
counselors,
to
everything.
to overcome those hurdles to get something actually pragmatically done, the practical application of this is you now have 8 months to start getting people on the ballot
Yeah.
that understand the issue, get them on the Child and Family Committee, and get rid of people the people that are trying to kill this, because Lucy
Yeah.
Weber and the others. They're lawyers.
Yeah.
They support lawyers. They,
I've been talking to a great number of people about actually doing that, throwing my hat in the ring for state rep in Derry.
town?
Derry.
okay. Talk to Dave Love too.
Dave Love is a good friend of mine. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've known
and,
Dave for decades. I've known Dave.
Right.
Yeah. So
Catherine Purdue O'Brien is
yeah,
super awesome.
yeah,
She's
she
a wonderful
produces
lady, too.
she produces a show at our station. I've met her a couple of times.
She never asked me to go on.
Well,
But
you
what
are
you just
more
said,
than
Gary.
Oh, now I'm pissed.
But what you just said, again, you're extremely accurate on everything you've been saying so far. It's just amazes me that you know so much about this and how the game is played and how this is that. And it's just everything you said about getting people like-minded to run for office, to get on the Children and Family Law Committee. We've accomplished that. It took, at least in my case, over almost a decade now. Jeff Oligny's been fighting this. There was even Oligny.
Jeff's a great guy.
Jeff has been fighting tooth and nail. But he's up for every Jeff Oligny. There's 27 people on the other side of the fence saying, no, everything's fine just the way it is.
Yeah, we're
And everybody,
picking it
well,
up,
things are getting better for fathers. No, they're not. The only reason mothers are getting non-custodialship is because they make more money than the father. So now the non-custodial parent has to pay child support on a percentage of their income. And you see a lot more women who are getting run under the bus now. And to me, it's got nothing to do with gender. It has everything to do with our children.
Dollars. Hey,
That's part
gotta
of.
wrap it up.
Okay.
Gentlemen,
Okay, sorry.
thank you for coming on and hanging
Thank
out
you,
with
Gary.
me. Keep up the fight. I know it's a long, hard, but remember, the liberal commie bastards didn't get this far. They got this far by one victory at a time. We got
Yeah.
to start winning one victory at a time and push the
Yeah.
avalanche
Well,
back.
as far as that bill goes, it's dead now. So
It's
we
dead,
got to
but it
start
gave you
all over
information.
again. It
Yeah.
gave information. but,
Exactly.
you know,
That's all you
thank
get.
you so much, Gary, for letting me and T come on.
Hey,
Really
you guys are
appreciate it.
awesome. A little bit radical for me because I'm kind of like mild-mannered, but you know.
Well, we're just trying to get the truth out, you know. And
What
find a
makes me
solution.
so not mild-mannered, Gary?
Hey, we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.